Huge thank you to the cozy and curious creatives over on Patreon for helping to support my art journey and making this video possible. Does anyone else feel like they got punched in the face when they realized that it's now, in fact, July? Or is that just me? Genuinely, 2025 feels like it is absolutely flying by, and I kind of feel like I'm just barely holding onto the wing of the plane. Don't get me wrong, a lot of truly awesome things have happened this year, and I definitely want to acknowledge those things, but I've also been noticing a little bit of burnout in some areas and a few negative patterns and mindsets that I want to kick to the curb in the second half of the year. Anywho, this video has aligned perfectly with my 100 heads challenge, so the spread you're watching here brings us up to that magical midway point of 50 heads. So with half the year under our belts and half the year to go, I think it's time for a little mid-year check-in. I've made a little packet of journaling prompts for this check-in if you want to join in with me. All those pages are free down in the video description. I do want to apologize for the icky voice. Limp lungs strikes again, and I'm dealing with a very nasty cold and bronchitis right now.
Limp lungs.
So before we dive into the check-in questions, we need to get into the right headspace, the right perspective. I want to be honest with you guys, check-ins can be a little bit brutal for me. For as much as I talk about the importance and beauty of slow living and about how your worth is not knitted to your productivity and your achievements and that you don't have to align yourself with hustle culture, I still really have a hard time wrapping my own head around those things. Truthfully, I put a lot of moral value on my achievements or the quantity of those achievements. Like, if I haven't met many of my goals for the year, I must just be a failure of a person. I kind of go into catastrophe mode pretty quickly, like,
well, I've only completed 2 of my 6 intentions for the year, so obviously I'm not going to be able to accomplish anything else for the rest of the year, and I might as well throw in the towel.
I know, that is a fantastic attitude, isn't it? I'm working on that. But I don't want to have that mindset going into this check-in. I want to come at this with a healthier perspective, a growth-based and grace-based perspective. Check-ins are so fruitful when they're done with the right mindset. They give us the opportunity to be grateful for what we've experienced and how far we've come. They give us the opportunity to be honest with ourselves in where we haven't really made much of an effort. And they give us the opportunity to realign our priorities and make sure that the path we're frolicking on is actually the path that we want to be frolicking on. To grow, you need to be honest with yourself on what you've been avoiding and intentional about taking action. But to grow well, you need to have grace on yourself and remember that you're human. You can't go 110% all the time, and life things sometimes pull us away from what we've been working toward. So with all of that, let's come at this with a genuine desire to be intentional about what's important to us and not just to beat ourselves up for what we haven't yet accomplished. Okay, first question. What are 3 things you're grateful for so far this year? Number 1 for me, intentional weekly FaceTiming with my best friend Hannah. We've been long distance friends for about 8 years now, and long distance friendship is not easy. It requires you to be intentional about communication because you don't have the privilege of just seeing each other at the grocery store or meeting up for spontaneous coffee dates. Now, we haven't always been great about keeping in touch. Life things happen, and the next thing you know, it's been 3 months since we've checked in with each other. But this year, we've really made it a priority to have these weekly phone calls to share our lives, share the wins, share the struggles, give advice and encouragement. And let me tell you, these conversations are a roller coaster of emotions.
You never know what we're going to chat about.
A single phone call might contain a deep dive into processing grief, a book review on whatever self-help or fantasy fiction books we're currently reading, and a giggle fest talking about our favorite Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes. All this to say, it has been so good for my soul to have this time with her and keep growing our friendship. Number 2, launching my first book. I'm still a little bit in shock that this actually happened. And the whole process was kind of chaotic, which you can hear more about in this video. But this is definitely one of the highlights of my year, and honestly, probably of my life. This was a big deal for me. After many, many Mondays of sketching bits and bobbles, I gathered up those sketches, wrote some poems and story snippets and thought prompts, and sewed them up into a living, breathing book. The heart behind my work is seeing the good in life, finding the beauty and joy in living at your own pace, and discovering magic in the mundane moments. Bits and bobbles are the characters for me that most express that, and this book is my way of being able to share that with y'all. And number 3, learning more about a condition I'm fairly certain I have, and learning more about conservative care for that condition. We're going to chat a little bit more about this in a later question, but learning about this has made a very, very big impact on how I'm approaching fitness and nutrition. Question number 2. If you could describe the first half of this year in only one word, what would it be? For me, that word is whirlwind. This has been a very big, beautiful year for me in a lot of ways, but I don't love how busy I've been through a lot of it. There's definitely a time and a place for busy seasons, but I think chronic busyness is bad for the body, bad for the mind, bad for your creativity. Busy doesn't equal productivity, and oftentimes busyness hinders us from being truly productive because we aren't able to truly devote ourselves to making good efforts when too many things are pulling us in different directions. Question number 3, how would you like to be able to describe the second half of the year? For me, this would be unhurried and joyful. I've been a bit frantic for the first part of this year. I feel like I'm always a little bit on edge thinking about all the things that I quote unquote should be doing. I really want to hand over my time to God and trust that He's going to make that time fruitful. I believe my ultimate purpose is to glorify God, and I'm not able to do that when I'm living in this constant state of rush and anxiety. I want to be able to be present and joyful in every moment and truly devote my effort to my work at a slower pace that I can actually maintain. Question number 4, what goals or intentions did you set at the beginning of the year? So I had 8 intentions, which is kind of a lot, and some of them are kind of not great intentions. We'll get to that in a little bit. Create and launch my first art book, submit my work to a magazine I've had my eye on, send out PR boxes of my prints and stickers, go on a trip with Hannah, improve my character design skills, try bookbinding, be more intentional with my time, and build sustainable, healthy habits that work for me. Question number 5, of those intentions, which have you completed? First of all, launching my first art book, which we've already covered, and secondly, bookbinding. I rebound and painted a custom cover for the first book in the Morgan Crow series, and it was a wild journey, let me tell you. I'm really happy I gave it a try, and I definitely want to do some more book rebinds in the future. Question number 6, of the intentions you haven't completed, which ones have you taken action toward? Number 1, improving my character design skills. So in January, I did a 1-month challenge to design this little world-traveling photographer character, Gwen. I practiced things like character turnarounds, facial expressions, costume design, and ultimately built my skills in character consistency. Number 2, taking a trip with Hannah. So while we haven't yet taken a trip, we have been actively discussing some potential options and trying to finalize a date for it. And number 3, building sustainable, healthy habits that work for me. This answer is a little bit lengthy, so if you don't really care to hear the answer, then you can jump to this timestamp for the next question. So y'all know I'm a chronic illness girly, and that means that my body has a different rule book. The things that work for most people as far as staying fit and maintaining a balanced diet often don't work for me or can actually be quite counterproductive, bordering on dangerous for me. For example, cardio. There's no denying that cardio is very important. It maintains your heart health, it releases endorphins, the muscle contractions help keep our lymphatic system pumping to minimize swelling in our joints and keep our immune systems running. However, I have secondary adrenal insufficiency, also known as Addison's disease, which, long story short, means my body isn't really capable of responding to stressors. That's a very poor definition of it, but it's a lot to get into. So I take steroid replacements multiple times a day that somewhat balance that out, but there isn't really a great system for managing it because you can't really factor for every single stressor in your life. There's physical stress like taking a walk or lifting weights or carrying in the groceries or stubbing your toe. There's emotional stress like having an argument or dealing with grief or going to an amusement park. You tracking with me? Stress comes in many, many forms. So what does this mean for fitness? So let's bring it back to cardio. So HIIT workouts are a great form of cardio, and I can sometimes do very, very small amounts of it. But 9 times out of 10, HIIT workouts leave me absolutely wrecked, not just for the rest of the day, but oftentimes for the days following. I cannot seem to correctly guess how much medicine to take to combat the stress it puts on my body. But steady state cardio, like walking combined with a little bit of peak level heart rate, like a 3-minute run thrown in there, that I can do. It may take me more time overall to get the same cardio effect, but that slower pace doesn't leave me broken afterwards. This also goes along with the condition I mentioned earlier. I don't have an official diagnosis yet, but I do meet the majority of the markers and symptoms for it. So this condition makes it very difficult for the body to handle inflammation. Once again, things like strength training and cardio, they're very, very important for the body, but they do cause inflammation. Anytime you are pushing your body into a stress state, inflammation occurs. So with this condition, you have to be more mindful of how hard you're pushing your body. Pushing yourself to a 1 rep max in weightlifting may be great for growing muscle, but because this condition makes it very difficult to recover from that inflammation, it can actually do more harm than good. Whereas taking the weight down a bit and not pushing yourself to failure can still stimulate some muscle growth without putting your body into inflammation overdrive. Again, it takes longer overall to build that muscle and build that endurance because you can't really push your body to the same extreme as most other people can, but you can get there by taking it slow and steady. So my dad and I were talking about this the other day, and he really helped me put it into perspective. When it comes to fitness, I am the tortoise. I'm still capable of getting to where I want to be, but it's going to take me a lot longer than it's going to take most other people. And that's okay. I am consistently taking action and learning how my body works and building habits that work for my body and its particular rule book. Obviously, I don't always get it right, but I think I've made some pretty big progress with my mindset toward it this year. Instead of feeling down about my body's limitations, I'm learning to work with them and learning that slow growth is still growth. That was a really long, somewhat nerdy answer to that question. If you're still here, thanks for sticking around, and let's move on to the next question. Question number 7, what steps do you need to take to complete your in-progress intentions? So first of all, we talked about character design, and honestly, I'm kind of thinking about letting this one go for right now. It wasn't a great goal in the first place because it isn't really measurable. Like, there's no finality to it. I can always improve in character design. I think the progress I made earlier this year on it is a really great start and gives me what I need to make the work that I want to make right now. Number 2, my trip with Hannah. The next step is honestly just finalizing a date and a place to meet up. Honestly, we don't even have to go anywhere special. Like, we could literally meet up at a hotel for a weekend and just sit and talk and paint and do Pilates, and that would be enough for both of us. At this point, we just need to see each other. And number 3, healthy habits. Again, this isn't really a measurable goal and it's always in progress. However, the next step I think would be talking to my specialist about the condition I've been researching. Not that an official diagnosis is the be-all end-all of health, but there's a certain amount of validation, I guess, that comes from a professional saying,
yeah, that checks out, and here are some ways you can manage it.
I've already made some progress in conservative care and begun noticing some pretty positive changes in how my body feels, but I would love to get more advice to point me in the right direction. Question number 8, of the intentions you set, which have you not taken action toward? It's getting a little uncomfy now, but remember, growth requires honesty. Number 1, submitting my work to the magazine. This has been staring at me from my Notion page all year, and I just keep pretending that I don't see it on there. Number 2, sending out PR boxes. And number 3, being intentional with my time. Question 9, if you haven't taken action, why not? Do they no longer align with your priorities, or is something holding you back? Firstly, the magazine. Honestly, at first, it was simply fear holding me back. No one loves being rejected, and I really love this magazine. However, as I've been thinking on it, I'm not really sure if this magazine is the right fit for what I was originally wanting to submit. But they do have a sister magazine in their publishing house that sounds like it would be a much better option. Now, I've known about this sister magazine for a couple months now and still haven't pitched my work, so there's definitely still some fear holding me back. Number 2, PR boxes. So I haven't done this yet, partially because shipping costs have steadily been going up, and also I just haven't made the time for it. It's fairly low on the totem pole of priorities. I'm not saying I don't want to do it in the future, but it might not be the right path right now. So I'm kind of thinking of letting this one go too. And number 3, being intentional with my time. For as much as I don't like social media, I spend a lot more time on it than I would probably care to admit. Yes, I do use social media for my business, but there's also a great amount of wasted time. Doom scrolling on Instagram, perusing shorts on YouTube, watching stupid video compilations, I don't know. It's not easy letting go of fast dopamine. I can get those warm, fuzzy feelings watching YouTube much faster and with much less effort than with doodling something in my sketchbook. Question number 10, if an intention no longer aligns with you, is there another intention you'd like to set to replace it? I definitely want to let go of the character design intention. It's not where I'm at right now with my art, and that's okay. The intention I want to set as a replacement is launching my first storybook. So I chatted a lot more about that in this video, but I want to publish the story I wrote during last Inktober. I spent the month creating these little ink drawings and developing the story of Ivy, the little bird skull girl. It's kind of funny because we tend to view short stories like this as children's books, but honestly, I don't know. I don't think that's what this book is gonna be, like, at all. Yes, it's still plenty kid friendly, but the heart of it is kind of more for misfit adults. The ones who find themselves on a different path than what they had in mind and need a little bit of a reminder that the most beautiful path and the path that you're supposed to be on isn't always the one that aligns with what you hope for. Anywho, I have several illustrations I still need to make for it. I need to edit the story and fix some things, and I need to format the book itself, but I'm hoping to make this book a reality in October of this year. Question 11, choose one intention you haven't met but still want to. What is one step you can take toward it today? So I still want to submit my work to the magazine this year, and writing a pitch email really doesn't take that long. At the very least, I can email the editor to find out which of the 2 magazines would be the better fit for me to submit my work to. So I left a little bit of space at the end of the page for a bit of free writing. I'm not going to share all of what I wrote, but I do want to share a little bit of it. I want to be more mindful of and intentional with my time in the second half of 2025. I've felt so rushed and hurried and pulled in different directions, and I feel like several areas of my life are really suffering because of it. At the root of it, I haven't made my faith my top priority, and when my faith isn't at the center, everything else inevitably falls out of alignment. Hannah and I were talking about this quote the other day that says, "Put God first and everything else will follow." I have most definitely known that to be true in my own life. Those seasons where I'm putting my faith first, everything else aligns. My life's not perfect or easy by any means, but I am able to find joy and contentment even in the hard parts. And I've also been seeing the reverse to be true lately, that when I don't put God first, everything else is always out of alignment. No matter how much time or effort I dedicate to a certain area, I always feel behind and uneasy. So at the heart of it, I really want to make my faith my top priority going forward in the second half of this year. I want to slow down and take my time on things and be present and enjoy the moment. I want to trust that God is going to make the things that I accomplish fruitful, and trust that He's still God over all the things that I don't accomplish. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed doing this little mid-year check-in with me, and I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this little sketchbook spread. I've been having such a great time with the 100 Heads Challenge, and I'm absolutely loving seeing everyone's progress in the Discord group. If you're interested in another gouache sketchbook spread, then head on over to watch this video next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.